everyone, and welcome to Think Academy's Grade 5 July's challenging questions. So let's go ahead and look at our first question. In the first question, we have a word problem. We know each of James, Bowen, and Ashley has some cookies. The ratio of the number of cookies of James to that of Bowen is 2 to 3. And the ratio of the number of cookies of Bowen to that of Ashley is 5 to 7. Now, James has 11 cookies less than Ashley. How many cookies does Ashley have? So we have two ratios. The first one, James to Bowen, that is 2 to 3. And for the second ratio, we have Bowen to Ashley, that equals to 5 to 7. But we know that James has 11 cookies less than Ashley, so we need to compare the cookies between James and Ashley. Now we only have two ratios, that is James to Bowen and Bowen to Ashley. So we have to somehow combine these two ratios together so that we can combine the numbers of cookies of James and Ashley. But how can we do that? You notice that Bowen is actually in these two ratios. So he is in both ratios. So we can use the number of Bowen to help us combine these two ratios. So the way we can do that is to use the least common multiple of 3 and 5, because that's Bowen's numbers in the two ratios. And the least common multiple of 3 and 5 is 15. So we first convert these two ratios so that Bowen's number is going to be 15. So the first pair, James to Bowen, becomes 10 to 15. And you see that the ratio is still the same. It's still 2 to 3 if we divide both numbers by 5. And Bowen to Ashley is 15 to 21. We just multiply two numbers by 3. And you see that now Bowen's number is the same, and that means we can compare James and Ashley. So James to Ashley is just 10 to 21. And what's the difference between the ratio? The difference is just 21 minus 10, which is 11. And that's exactly the difference between James and Ashley's cookies. So we know Ashley must have 21 cookies, and James only has 10 cookies. So that the difference is 11 and the ratio is the same. Okay, so that's the first question. Now let's move on to the next one. Some students signed up for a math competition yesterday. Among the students, the ratio of the number of boys to that of girls was 3 to 4. Today, 8 girls signed up for the competition. Now the ratio of the number of boys to that of girls is 2 to 3. There are how many students signed up for the math competition until now? So again, we have a ratio question. And for the ratio question, we always find the values that are the same, and we try to make the number in the ratio the same by finding the least common multiple. So at first, the ratio of boys to girls is 3 to 4. And a day later, 8 girls sign up for the math competition, but there's no boys signing up for the math competition. And now the new ratio becomes 2 to 3. But we know that the number of boys stay the same because only 8 more girls sign up for the competition. So we have to keep these two numbers the same by looking for the least common multiple. So now we can transform the first ratio into 6 to 8. So we just multiply two numbers by 2. And in the second case, second ratio, we have 6 to 9. We multiply the two numbers by 3. So now the number of boys is the same in both ratios, and then we can compare the number of girls before and after the 8 girls sign up for the competition. So the difference in the ratio is just 9 minus 8, which is 1. And then we know 8 girls sign up for the competition. So we have to multiply all the numbers by 8. So now we only look at the new ratio because we need to find the students sign up for the math competition until now. So we only look at this ratio. And the number of boys is 6 multiplied by 8, which is 48. And the number of girls is 9 multiplied by 8, which is 72. And the total number of students, we just sum up these two numbers. So the total number of students sign up for the competition is 120. And that's it for this question. Now for the next one. Jennifer and Amy went shopping. Jennifer had $4 more than twice as much money as Amy had. So we know Jennifer had $4 more than twice as much money as Amy had. After Jennifer spent $3 and Amy spent $10, the amount of money that Jennifer had was $1 more than 4 times. So $1 more than 4 times that Amy had. Originally, Jennifer had how much dollars and Amy had how much dollars? So in this complicated word problem, the best strategy is to assume one of their monies is X dollars, and then we can use this relationship to construct our equation. So at first, let's assume Amy has X dollars, and what's Jennifer's dollar? If Amy has X dollars, Jennifer had $4 more than twice as much money as Amy had. So Jennifer actually has 2x plus 4, because Jennifer had $4 more than twice as much money as Amy had. So Jennifer had 2x plus 4. Now after they spending some money, so they spend some money, and we know that Amy spent $10. So Amy now has only x minus 10. And Jennifer spent 2x plus 4 minus 3, because she spent $3. And that is 2x plus 1. And now Jennifer has $1 more than 4 times than Amy had. And we know that Jennifer has 2x plus 1, that equals to 4 times Amy's money, which is x minus 10, and $1 more, so plus 1. And then we can just solve this equation and solve for x. So we first simplify the polynomials on both sides. We have this one, and then we know x is just 20. So we know Amy had $20. Amy had $20. And what about Jennifer? Jennifer's money is $4 more than twice as much money as Amy had, and we actually have an expression to show this relationship. So we can just plug in the value for x, which is 20, into this expression. So Jennifer had 2 multiplied by 20 plus 4, which is 44. So Jennifer had $44. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Now Tim is Tom's older brother. Tim's age is 3 times that of Tom. 24 years later, Tim's age will be 16 less than twice that of Tom. Tim is how many years old and Tom is how many years old? Again, we have some unknown variables, so we assume one of them is x. So we assume the age of Tom is x. And what about Tim? Tim's age is 3 times that of Tom. So Tim's age will be 3x. Now after 24 years, Tom will become x plus 24, because after 24 years, Tom's age will increase by 24 years old. And what about Tim? Tim will be 3x plus 24, because they grow up for the same time, so they added the same number. Now Tim is 3x plus 24, and we know that Tim's age will be 16 less than twice that of Tom. So let's construct our equation. So we know Tim's age, which is 3x plus 24, that's gonna be 16 less than twice that of Tom. So twice of Tom's age, which is x plus 24, and 16 less, so we minus 16. And again, we can simplify the polynomial on the right hand side, which is 2x plus 48 minus 16, and we have x equals to 8. So we know Tom's age is 8 years old. And Tim is 3 times that of Tom, so Tim's age is 24. And that's the answer to the question. Now let's look at the last one. The standards of the phone bill in City A are: the phone bill is 30 cents per minute within 3 minutes, including 3 minutes. And when the call time exceeds 3 minutes, the excess part will be charged for $1.1 per minute. If James has $9.7 in his account, how long can James make a phone call with his friends at most? Now, because there are 2 standards, let's first look at if James has enough money to make 3 minutes phone call. So if James only calls his friends for 3 minutes, then what's the bill? The bill will be 0.3 multiplied by 3, because the bill is 30 cents per minute within 3 minutes. So if he calls for 3 minutes, then he only used the first standard. So the total bill will become 0.9. And you see that that's way smaller than the $9.7 that James had. Okay, so he can definitely call more than 3 minutes. But once he calls more than 3 minutes, he will have another standard to charge his money. So now after the 3 minutes, the excess part will be charged for 1.1 minutes. So assume that James make a phone call of X minutes in total. So X minutes in total. And we know that X will be greater than 3 because he can make more than 3 minutes of phone call. Now the bill will be 0.3 multiplied by 3. That represents the money on the first 3 minutes. And past that, we have $1.1 per minute. How much excess minute does James call? That's going to be X minus 3 and equals to his account balance, which is 9.7. And again, we simplify the expression. We have, and don't forget about the inequality, because that's the time he can call at the most. Now we have 1.1x less than or equal to 12.1, which means x is less than or equal to 11. So now we see that James can only make at most 11 minutes of phone call with his friends. And that's it for this question. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing all of you in Think Academy. Thank you.